What's up, guys? So I wanted to take some time to go through a Q&A session with my wife, Darlene's here, who's going to be helping me. She's going to be reading some common questions. We're doing some research, and I hope that in answering these questions that you guys get some value from it. So without further ado, she's going to ask the questions, and I'm going to do my best to answer based upon my experiences, and hopefully you get something out of it. So please proceed.
Okay, first question. What's the best firearm for self-defense?
The best firearm for self-defense is whatever firearm it is that you're comfortable with, that you know you're going to have access to.
Awesome. Many women want to know what gun is best suited for their size, strength, and level of experience.
Yeah, so whenever you go to purchase a firearm, one of the things that you want to make sure that you do when you're talking to the clerk is to actually get into the case, the display case, have them take it out, put it in your hand, and make sure that you actually can establish a good grip on the firearm, that it's not too light, it's not too heavy, and most importantly, that you don't have to stretch with your index finger to get to the trigger.
Awesome. Should I choose a revolver or a semi-automatic pistol?
Good question. So the revolver will always go bang. That's the nice thing about revolvers. However, there's a limited amount of ammunition that the revolver can actually carry. So the semi-automatic firearm is going to afford you much more rounds, and potentially that could be a life-saving benefit because you may need to expend more rounds to neutralize the threat.
Great. Okay. Questions often revolve around ease of use, reliability, and maintenance.
Kind of touching back on what I discussed earlier about the ease of use, convenient, accessibility. With maintenance, a revolver, for example, is not going to require a whole lot of maintenance. It's a mechanical device, that's very simple, and like I said, it has a reputation for always going bang. Okay, the semi-automatic pistol does have more moving parts, and it can be jammed or placed out of battery per se. If for example, the slide is pushed back even slightly, the trigger will be immobilized and it won't work. So mostly though, when maintenance comes into play after you go practice or you at the range, where you're going to make sure that you have a clean weapon that is fully functioning, that you are ensuring is going to be ready for when you need it most.
Great. What caliber is best for personal defense?
I would say that most common caliber for personal defense, and even for us in law enforcement nowadays, is a 9mm. A 9mm pistol, like I said before, it's going to afford you magazines that have more rounds available. But I would also suggest around a 380 LCP, which happens to be what I use, because the context of self-defense for me is something that is going to occur within 1 to 3, maybe max 5 to 7 feet. So I'm not really looking for a whole lot of stopping power. What I want to do is I want damaging capability, right? So that's going to do more with shot placement than the actual caliber size.
Very good. Women frequently ask about balancing stopping power with manageable recoil.
Yeah, so kind of touching on what we just mentioned, the 9mm is going to have a little bit more recoil than, let's say, it's going to have less recoil than, let's say, a 45 caliber or even a 40 caliber gun, which tends to be very snappy. The 380 is going to have even less recoil, and ultimately the 22 caliber is going to have even less than that. And don't get it twisted. That 22 caliber, let's say revolver or pistol, if that's all that you have, let's say, for example, you are an elderly person, you have arthritis in your hands, and you are not strong enough to carry a heavier type pistol, but you can carry a Glock 44, let's say, which is a 22 caliber pistol, that will shoot somebody dead if you need to, okay? So don't get too lost in the weeds with regards to that. It has more to do with comfort, the recoil. So I would say if you stay in that 9mm to 380 range as a beginner, you're going to be well off.
All right. How do I know what size firearm fits me?
So that has to do more with your hand size than anything else when you're talking about a pistol, right? So, like I said, emphasizing the point that you go to a gun store or a gun show, whatever the case may be, and when you are shopping, make sure that you put that firearm in your hand. And what I mean is that you don't grab the firearm from the bottom end of the back strap. Okay, you go up high up on the back strap, wrap your hand fully around it, and then make sure that you can see yourself getting a two-hand grip and actually it feeling comfortable in your hands. I think that's the optimal thing, the key point to harp on there.
Okay. Many women ask about concealed carry methods, holsters, bags, on-body, off-body carry.
Yeah, so I would say that in terms of optimal versus less optimal, the carrying of a firearm in a purse would be, in my opinion, less optimal than carrying a firearm in an appendix holster at the 1 o'clock position, or carrying a firearm in your back pocket or in the 5 o'clock position and concealed over clothing. Why do I say that? Because if your self-defense situation happens to be a mugging or a robbery, and someone hits you over the head or slaps you or grabs you, chokes you, and grabs your purse, they're not only grabbing your money and your valuables, they're also grabbing your gun. And so naturally you could see how it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to carry the thing that's going to hopefully save your life in an object that it can be easily separated from you. So my pick would be appendix of the two, appendix or 9 o'clock or 5 o'clock. I would say appendix. I like to keep my weapons up front where I can totally get to them reliably without any obstruction.
Okay. What kind of training do I need? Interest in learning safe gun handling, marksmanship, and defensive shooting techniques.
Good. So that's exactly what I'm here for. That's exactly what the goal of what we do in this arena of women's self-defense and safety, firearm safety. You need to get basically trained on weapon nomenclature, which is a fancy word for what parts make up a gun, so that you know what it is that you're looking at. You need to understand the 4 principles of safety, which are obviously treat every gun as if it's loaded, keep your finger off the trigger, don't point the gun at anything you don't intend to shoot, and always be aware of your backstop if you do shoot something. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you are practicing the dry fire drills, kind of like in the other video that I posted about the 7 fundamentals of marksmanship, right? So you're going to pick a spot on the wall, or you're going to be going to the range, and you're going to be drilling proper stance, proper grip, proper draw, sight picture, sight alignment, then sight picture, finally trigger control and follow through. So if you keep in mind the 4 principles of firearm safety, and you keep in mind the 7 principles of marksmanship, and you drill that on a consistent basis, you're going to find over a relatively short period of time that it becomes reflexive.
Great. How do I store my firearms safely, especially with children at home?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of having firearms that not only are staged. I like to stage firearms more than store them. I think of storage more for like excess ammunition, and I'm going to qualify this for home defense purposes. If I hear a glass break and I have to go run downstairs to my garage, open a safe, take the firearm, run up to the second room and grab the ammo box and load the firearm before I get to defend myself, it defeats the purpose, right? So I want to have a gun loaded, charged, and accessible to me rapidly. If my primary concern is for home defense. Now, naturally, we're not going to be stupid about it. If we've got small kids, like we have a small child, keep it elevated, keep it somewhere where reasonably that there's not going to be access to it. Biometric safes would be my second option to that. If you're talking about wanting to store it in some kind of a closed object when you're at home, or if you obviously leave the home, you can have stand-up or tall wall safes that are good that you can pin to the floor and to the wall for your rifles and for your shotgun. Me personally, I would always recommend that you have a pistol accessible to you, that you have a shotgun accessible to you, and that you have some sort of a 223 or 5.56 rifle available to you as well. Not to mention a kit like a first aid kit somewhere in the home, so that in the event that you take a round or you get injured, you can properly treat yourself.
How do I prevent someone from taking my gun in a confrontation?
Training. So that's going to be a weapon retention issue. That's going to be a combatives issue, a self-defense scenario. So in order to get that done, I always say that the body can never go where the mind has never been, right? So scenario thinking and utilizing gross motor skill based defensive tactics, combatives. I don't suggest that people go out and suddenly try to become a black belt in whatever martial art that they like, because although not to knock anyone that's a black belt in some martial art, many times the martial arts that are out there that offer trainings and monthly memberships are not realistic for the 3 to 5 second FUT, which is what I call the effed up tangle. Not to be vulgar here, but it's going to be the self-defense situation that involves weapon retention is going to be something that's very guttural, very ugly, violent. It's going to be quick, and it needs to be something that you can end quickly as well. So I'm talking, indexing the firearm away from the attack, posting the palm heel into the nose, clawing at the eyes, grabbing hair and raking the person down, and then running. That would, to me, would be your first protocol to execute.
Very good. What if I'm scared to shoot a gun? Women often want guidance on overcoming fear and building confidence with firearms.
Yeah, anything that we're not comfortable with, that we don't understand, we tend to be fearful of. There's an acronym called FEAR, which is FEAR, which stands for false evidence appearing real. Whatever you are not used to dealing with, whatever you are not trained with, whatever you don't feel reflexive on, is going to cause you to flinch. It's going to cause you to startle. As you get inoculated and desensitized to firearms, you spend some time at the range, you have qualified instructors that are hand guiding you through the different drills and kind of desensitizing you through repetition, that fear is going to be diminished.
Do I need to clean my gun often? And how do I do it?
I would recommend that you clean your gun after every range day. If you don't go to the range too often, I don't see a reason why you need to do it more than every couple months, probably. In my 20 years of law enforcement, I've heard people say that are super anal about it, that clean their gun even when it's already pretty clean. And then others that say, for example, when it comes to maybe sniper rifles, even rifles in general, some brands of rifles, that they're better when they are a little dirty, right? Because you get a little bit of that fouling in the barrel, and it tends to supposedly make it shoot more consistent with holding to zero. So I would say, be moderate about it, but don't go overboard.
Okay, so now these questions are more about self-defense.
Okay.
Do I really need a firearm for self-defense?
Short answer is yes and no. Yes, if it's someone that's attacking you with a gun, someone that's attacking you with a knife, because you don't want to try to go empty-handed or empty-hand tactics towards somebody that's got a knife or a gun, because that's at a tactical disadvantage. There are other products that are available on the market: pepper sprays, tasers, Kubotans, keys. Shout out to one of the guys that I work with, Honor Bound Gear, that's developing a tool that is for non-permissive environments, that is plastic, that looks essentially and functions like a screwdriver, but can be used as a weapon of opportunity, impact weapon, to strike the eyes, strike the soft tissue, throat, in self-defense situations. So you don't always have to have a gun, but I would say it's kind of like insurance. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Definitely. Women often weigh the necessity of carrying a firearm against other options like pepper spray, we're talking about, or tasers.
Yeah. So and understandably so, women are nervous about it, because there's also a fear that if they shoot somebody, that some people think they're going to immediately be arrested or that they're going to be sued. And while those may be potential scenarios, ultimately what the firearm is there for is to preserve your life, right? So the downside to things like that are not lethal, like the pepper spray, the Kubotan, the taser, is that I've seen people be very resilient and have high pain threshold to where those tools that are designed to incapacitate fail to incapacitate, and now you've got a problem because you are now in a situation where you are on your heels. You've been deploying measures that you thought in your mind were going to solve the problem, only to find that the problem is getting bigger and closer.
Okay. How do I stay situationally aware? As a woman, I would like to know how to recognize potential threats and avoid dangerous situations.
Right. So, situational awareness, key principle is to adopt a mindset of constant vigilance where you're not paranoid, but you exude preparedness. And by that I mean your posture is such that you don't appear to be vulnerable because you are distracted. You don't appear to be an easy pick or an easy target because you're looking and analyzing environments that you're going into with the express intent of determining whether that environment looks like it could potentially be an unsafe environment for you ahead of time. So the best fight or the best self-defense for a fight is not even being in a fight to begin with, right? So avoiding places where you can tell from a distance it looks like there's a problem going on here.
What should I do if someone attacks me?
That is kind of a loaded question. The short answer to that is fight back. I would say if someone's going to attack you, I'm of the opinion that if you're going to attack me, you're going to pay. There's going to be a heavy toll exacted on you for you deciding that for whatever reason you were going to take me away from my wife, from my kids, from my friends, my loved ones, and for that, there's going to be a hefty penalty to be paid. And that penalty is going to be delivered swiftly, but it's going to be delivered ferociously, violently, and effectively. So I would say, what do you do if you're attacked? Win. And how do you win? You fight ferocious, you fight with intent, and you fight until the threat is neutralized. The attitude is me, and more of me. In other words, you decided to attack me. Well, that was a tactical error, and I can no longer guarantee your safety. I'm going to destroy you.
Wow. Okay, how do I avoid freezing up during an attack?
That goes back to the body can never go where the mind has never been. The biggest thing that you can do to avoid that startle or that flinch response is to inoculate yourself through repetition, through exposure, which gives you the desensitization to that stimulus. The human physiology is such that we only shock and startle and get surprised at things that we encounter when we were not prepared or ready to encounter. So the purpose of doing room entries and scenario training and practice is that as you do a thing more, you become more savvy and more aware, and you're able to develop an anticipation as to what's to come, thus giving you the confidence that you need.
Awesome. Should I call the police or handle it myself if someone attacks me?
I would be remiss in saying to people that are out there, okay, just handle it and don't call 911, don't call the police. This isn't the Wild Wild West. We live in a what is supposed to be a civilized society, and we have branches of service of the military and also domestic departments and agencies that are here to keep law and order for all of us. So, but the problem is that if I get dispatched to a burglary in progress or a home invasion in progress or a robbery or a rape in progress, I ain't getting there within the first 20, 30, 40 seconds, typically, unless I happen to be around the corner. So more often than not, the police response to a situation is going to be 3 minutes, maybe 4, 5, 6, 8 minutes, who knows? So if we know that to be the case, the responsibility is on you to make sure that you take the intentional decision to learn the skills necessary to be able to defend yourself. And then if backup shows up, it's a bonus.
Okay. Is it illegal to use deadly force in self-defense?
That would refer to your state's laws on that. We here are in Florida. In Florida, you have to stand your ground law, so you would have no duty to retreat. Okay, which thank God for that. But not every place is the same. So what I'm going to say to you is, depending on where you are listening to this, get with your local shooting club or check your state websites for the applicable laws.
What if my attacker is bigger or stronger than me? Which is very important for us to know as women, because mostly all the time that's the case.
Generally speaking, that is going to be the case. And so this is why, again, I go back to ugly, guttural, violent, and effective tactics, strikes to vulnerable areas are the predominant focus for what we're going to be teaching, what I believe that you should be training with. I think that you should be concentrated on tactics that aim right away to incapacitate that attacker by striking vulnerable areas like the eyes, the ears, the throat, the groin, even the nose. If you've never gotten punched in the nose, I've gotten punched in the nose, broken my nose, and I can tell you that the thing about getting hit in the nose is that instantaneously your eyes will swell up in water, blood will come pouring down your nose, and since you're in a fight, you start breathing heavy, your mouth is going to be open, you're going to be mouth breathing, blood's going to be pouring into your mouth, which is not pleasant, and then you're going to get more and more tired. So essentially it takes you one notch closer to being out of the fight.
Can I protect myself without a firearm?
Yeah, you can protect yourself without a firearm, first of all, by applying situational awareness principles. So avoiding crowded situations, avoiding road rage, avoiding the engaging of someone that appears to be stressed out, using verbal judo, de-escalation tactics. There's many things that you can do to avoid conflict. However, sometimes the conflict is unavoidable and it comes to you. The question is, are you prepared to defend yourself and your family if conflict and violence were to arrive at your doorstep? And this is why I've decided that it's important to me to make sure that the mass of people that are out there that are not skilled yet, that are not proficient yet, that don't have experience in desensitization and inoculation towards violence, that they hear from myself and my instructors, so that we can achieve a transference of skills that will potentially save you and your family's lives in the future.
How can I practice defending myself without feeling overwhelmed? For example, what are some practical training options?
Well, I think that you can spar, you can shadow box, you can get a Bob training dummy that you can purchase from Amazon and have it delivered to your home, and you can take the training that we talk about and the drills that I talk about in my programs and modules and my lessons, and further on down the road that I demonstrate, and you can drill, you can practice on your own. You don't have to get overcomplicated with it. If you don't do that, you can what if scenario, think about these things as you go about your day, and you can run different scenarios through your mind and think about what you would do if let's say, for example, you go and you're a mom that has a couple kids. As part of a regular routine, you have to go pick up your kids from school, or you have to go to a Publix or some grocery store with the kids. So that your attention is going to be divided. You're going to have to be cognizant of their whereabouts and what they're doing, and also have some measure of personal defense awareness to the environment around you. Well, if you do have that situation as part of your lifestyle, you need to think those things through. There's a funny thing that I mentioned to friends, my inner friends and my inner circle about myself that I'll admit here publicly, which I think it's fine, is that I sleep with a knife. And the reason why I sleep with a knife is because I have thought through, as weird as it may sound, the scenario in which I'm in my bed, glass break happens, and even though I have a nearby shotgun, a nearby rifle, a nearby handgun, suddenly the attacker is on top of me and choking me. Well, what would you do if you don't have the ability to get the person off? If this person's heavy, if the person has the momentum, the element of surprise, well, I sleep with a knife. So as I like to joke, the newscast is gonna sound like intruder broke into the home of an off-duty deputy, got on top of him and started choking him. The deputy pinned the suspect to his own body, deployed a knife, and began to severely psychologically damage the individual with the knife. And the neighbors overheard that suspect screaming for mercy and screaming, "Let me go, let me go." I know it's a little far out. You don't necessarily have to be like me, but what I'm trying to convey is the mindset, right? The warrior mindset, the sheepdog mindset. You should have thought through scenarios and contingencies ahead of time so that when it happens, you have an algorithm, you have a protocol that you're going to deploy right away.
Definitely. Okay. How do I mentally prepare for self-defense situation? And I think you touched a little bit of that on the previous question. And then, for example, survival mindset, the ability to make a split-second decisions.
Yeah, I'll just repeat, adopting a sheepdog mindset, adopting a warrior mindset, mental toughness. You know, mental toughness is the ability to persist and persevere when the chips are down, when you have obstacles, right? When things are uncomfortable. Well, how do you gain mental toughness? You have to suffer. You have to do things that are tough, whether it be functional fitness, whether it be timed drills on the range, whether it be you sparring and engaging in martial arts. You have to do things that push you and stretch you so that through doing those things, you begin to develop that confidence that comes from competence.
That was our last question.
Okay, great. Well, I hope that helped you guys out there. Stay tuned as we continue to add more and more Q&A style content to the channel. And very soon I'll be completing the development of programs where they're going to be very, very high content or high value content, long form format with videos and demonstrations and even some quizzes to test your knowledge of the concepts and the principles that I discuss for personal safety and for home defense, for you to be able to protect those that you care the most about. So until then, stay safe, be hard to kill, and we'll hopefully see you down the line.